Welcome to Vesper's Host, the newest dungeon in Destiny 2.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
As soon as you load in, your eyes will be blessed by the wonders of space.
Wow.
As soon as you're done taking in the sights, you'll be heading straight into the Vesper station, where you'll see some familiar faces in the Fallen.
I'm fast as fuck, boy!
You're going to be looking for one particular Fallen that has the scanner buff from the Deep Zone Crypt Raid. This particular version of the buff is actually a little stinky, because it'll actually straight kill you just by holding it. When you do have the buff, you'll have these yellow hexagons on your radar. If you walk up to the individual yellow hexagons, they'll either go away or they'll glow white if it's the correct one. The operator buff will also be here. All you have to do with the operator buff is shoot the correct panels, which will be indicated by the scanner buff. Once you hit a couple of these panels, a door will open that allows you to get into a decontamination area. This decontamination area will then lead into a hallway with a bunch of traps and more fallen enemies. Just be sure to watch out for the tripwires in particular, as they can potentially kill your entire team. Oh, no. From that far away? Are you shitting
And Jesse
me?
doesn't have a res?
So like I said, just make sure to watch yourself. The next encounter has to do with a bit of dunking. Okay, maybe not exactly that kind, but the whole point of this encounter is that you get 3 nukes and dunk it into this little area in the center of the room. The way that you do this is by killing this brig enemy that spawns in the center of the room. Once you kill this enemy, another enemy with a scanner buff will spawn. Once you kill that enemy and get the scanner buff, you are then able to go to any one of the 3 rooms that opens up from the center room. It doesn't matter which room or door you want to go down, but once you get inside the main chamber of whatever color door you decided to go down, there is another set of panels similar to the one in the first area that you had to activate to be able to get inside the actual Vesper station. However, once you activate all the panels this time, it'll spawn a nuke, and this is what you need to take back to the center room to dunk in order to progress the encounter. You also need to be aware of the radiation stacks that you get just by holding the actual nuke. This is similar to the stinky viral scanner and viral operator buffs, where it'll straight just kill you after a while. Once you finish dunking all 3 nukes, a chest will spawn in the center of the room where you dunked all the 3 nukes. Then, a new door will open up that'll lead you to the next area. The next area will actually have the second encounter's boss, but it will also have a unique mechanic where you have to open and close certain doors and barriers in order to progress through the level. Turning off doors and barriers will give you a little bit of power reserves, as you can see by indicated on the left side of the screen here. You're going to have to be able to balance effectively your power reserves to be able to open the doors that lead to little areas to be able to dunk your nukes again. This is similar to the first encounter that we just did, but it's a little slightly different because of the fact that these areas are now numbered. Like right here, you can see that this area that you dunk a nuke is number 2. It doesn't mean anything more than that, other than that it is the second one in the sequence. There's a 1, 2, 3, and then you go into the next area where there's a 4 and a 5. Once you get past this, you'll get into the next area, which is the first actual boss fight of the dungeon. This whole fight isn't too complicated, but there are a lot of steps, and if you mess up any single one of them, it's easy to lose track of where you are completely. When you first came into the room, there were these panels that were around the walls. These go around the front and back of this little middle wall in the room. We're going to go over why each one of them is numbered and why that's significant later. What you're going to want to do is slay out on enemies until this Wartech priest spawns in the middle of the room. Once you defeat the priest, you'll get the debuff Servitor's Fall, which will then teleport you to the upper section of the boss arena. Once you get up to this upper area, definitely keep your head on a swivel, as there's a lot of yellow bar shanks, including some that are explosive shanks that'll just run up to you and, wipe your entire fucking team.
I love Pakistan. I will sacrifice my life for Pakistan.
This part can seem a little confusing, but once you break it down, it's actually super simple. Once you kill all the shanks, a unique one with the suppressor buff from the Deep Zone Crypt Raid will also begin to spawn. The suppressor buff is the one that has definitely changed the most. This time, whenever you pick it up, it changes your grenade ability to put out this weird holographic clone that is similar to the clone that the Threaded Spectre puts out for Strand or Prismatic Hunters. What you're trying to do is have this clone be put out and then break it so that it has this little AoE suppression area where it suppresses the boss out of its big form and splits up into these tiny, smaller servitors. Specifically, what you're going to be looking for is some of the servitors have a slightly more blue glow to them, and they also have these little dots on their face. When you find the specific servitors that you're looking for, you just need to take note of their names. Each one is numbered 1 through 0, 0 meaning 10. You're trying to get a sequence of 4 numbers, so you're going to have to do this whole sequence twice. Once you get the 4 numbers that you need and then punch them in using the operator buff on the panels, you'll then start the DPS phase for the boss. Damage against this boss is a little wonky and kind of all over the place. You can do damage to the boss while it's in its larger form, but you can also use the suppressor buff to split them up into their smaller form to do damage while they're, split up. The main thing that we had success with is using Behemoth Titan supers to be able to make stasis crystals to shatter and do damage to pretty much all the individual servitors. This seems like the best course of action, but I'm going to be honest, I'm not really 100% sure on what works best for this boss, just because we haven't had a lot of testing for it individually. Once you defeat the boss, you'll obviously get a loot chest and then get access to the next bit of walking until the final encounter. The main thing to take away during this little section is the lightning strikes that'll happen occasionally around the arena. These will not be as big of a deal during this little bit of walking, but they will show up during the final boss fight, and these are pretty much a huge fucking deal. And now we're finally here at the final boss fight. This is Atrax, the first boss in the Deepstone Crypt raid, brought back. New bosses that have some interesting lore, miss me with that bullshit. Reprise stuff that we haven't seen for years, real shit. What you're going to want to do is a little all over the place, so we're going to do this step by step so you can try to keep up with me. When you start the encounter, you're going to have these clones of Atrax around the room. These ones don't have wire rifles, but they do have melee attacks. They also have a radiation aura around them that's similar to whenever you hold the nuclear devices in your hands. This works the exact same way, and getting 10 stacks of radiation will outright kill you immediately. What you need to do is get the suppressor buff, and then use that to be able to turn off the radiation aura from the Atrax clones. This will also make them not immune anymore, so you'll be able to damage them and outright kill them. Once you do this to 2 of the clones, the scanner buff will then spawn on another fallen enemy. You pick that up, and there will be these little blue panels around the room. It works the exact same way as whenever you got the scanner buff from before. Just walk up to them and see them on the radar to see if it's the correct one. You will then call out that number to the rest of your team. Kill some more Atrax clones, and you'll then get the operator buff. The operator will then have to shoot all the panels that match that number on the red ones around the room. This will then open the doors and allow you to go downstairs. Specifically, it's going to be these little elevator tubes that open up, and you're going to want to look for those red flashing lights that you saw up on the top to know which one to go down. When you drop down, you're going to need to start fighting through all the fallen to get into the little room where all the Atrax clones will end up being. When you get here, all the buffs that you've used to this point will still be in the room. Scanner, operator, and suppressor. Though the suppressor one isn't as useful for this particular part, scanner and operator are definitely needed in order to actually progress the encounter. Specifically, operator is going to have to shoot 4 panels around the room, and there are only 2 rooms, but the panels do not move. So every time that you go into one of the rooms, either the blue one or the yellow one, you should probably know after doing it a couple times where exactly each panel is. Once the person with the operator buff shoots all 4 panels, it'll then make more Atrax clones spawn. The person with the scanner will then have to walk up to each one of the individual clones to figure out which one is the correct one. This works the exact same way as using the scanner for every other part of the dungeon. Simply walk up to it to see if the little symbol on the radar changes to a white hexagon or if it just goes away completely. Once you kill the correct clone, it'll spawn one of the nuclear bombs that you've seen throughout the entire dungeon as well. There's a little bunker in each one of the 2 rooms that you'll be inside of. All you have to do is go inside the bunker with your entire fire team, dunk the nuke, and then just wait for a second or 2. The bunker will then open after a couple seconds, and you'll have to go in between this little gangway in between the different rooms. And all you'll have to do once you get to the next room is simply rinse and repeat. Once you set off the second nuke and hide in the bunker so that your entire team doesn't get wiped, you'll go back to the central area where you dropped down originally right after you did the first part of the encounter, where there will now be an active teleporter that will take you back up to that first floor. All you'll have to do is step into the teleporter, go back up to the upstairs area, and there will be a little elevator that will take you out into the actual boss arena. You should wait for your entire team, but I'm not 100% sure if the elevator will actually fire off without your entire team inside of the tube. Once everyone steps inside, the elevator will then launch you out to the top, and you'll be able to start doing damage to Atrax. Now, the damage phase is a little all over the place because there's just a lot happening. So number one, you have Atrax herself. She's a little bit bigger than the rest of her clones, so that's usually the dead giveaway for which one is actually her. She will shoot a wire rifle, and her clones will also shoot at you with some of the other fallen weaponry. The wire rifle is the main thing that you have to worry about from Atrax herself, but there's also these lightning attacks that go across the entire room. These things absolutely will just ruin your entire run. They do an absolute ton of damage, and there's not really a lot of room to maneuver around the arena, as well as not being a lot of room to actually take cover and be able to sit in one spot from Atrax for a long time to be able to recover your health. Eventually, Atrax will go immune and begin to commune with the anomaly. This will cause a sort of white mechanic to go across the entire arena. The way that you avoid this is one of two ways. You can either end the damage phase early, because the little door that you use to go into the first area will open back up, or you can kill an Atrax clone, and one of the clones randomly will just have a nuclear bomb on them, which you can then go into a bunker on the left hand side of the arena, like as shown right here, and put the nuke inside, hide from the white mechanic. This allows you to either extend damage phases or actually take the general relative safety of just, ducking back down into the first area. And that's really all there is to the boss fight. It's not super duper complicated, but it is sort of a endurance check as well as a overall damage check. With the lightning going on around the room, being able to put out damage, especially if you're dead, is very, very difficult. I found that whatever works best for me is something like what I'm doing right here, where I'm using Whisper of the Worm and just sitting back and hiding from Atrax herself so that, she can't really hurt me too much, while still staying away from the actual lightning strikes, because those are the things that really mess you up. And all you'll have to do is rinse and repeat until the boss ends up being dead. It really is that simple. Like I said, it's just sort of hard to keep up with, especially whenever there's all this stuff going on with the lightning strikes and just having the issues of staying alive. That's really the biggest problem that most people have with this actual encounter. As you can see, I was literally standing inside of a well. Doesn't matter. You can just be killed right out of it. The amount of damage that you take in this encounter is just through the roof, but by either finding certain areas to maneuver into, or by, just outright healing or running around the arena, you can stay alive relatively easily. And that's basically it for the dungeon. I unfortunately don't have Icebreaker, so I can't really give my opinion on that, and I haven't gone through and seen every single secret yet, so this is more of just the overall general points of the dungeon. I appreciate everyone watching up to this point. Thank you so much. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more of these types of videos, or else one of those lightning strikes from the arenas is probably going to hit your house. But then again, I'm not 100% sure. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me for a bit for this video. I'll see you guys on the next one.